And it's interesting because we've talked quite a bit about the running back position. And you know what? They need to, I kept saying, and I keep saying, they need to give Austin Eckler his Melvin Gordon. And I was not an Isaiah Spiller guy, and he did nothing last year to change my mind. So I think that was a wasted pick. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't like that pick. So then all of a sudden comes the news. I don't know if it's changed, that Austin Eckler is not happy with the Chargers. So that could be interesting. Now I don't know if that's just talk because he's going to want a new contract or whatever the situation is there. But that even makes it, I think, more than likely that they use a pick on a running back. So this is one of those teams that, again, they might not look at it, and it may not be one of those big needs. But if that certain running back is sitting there in the first round, don't be surprised.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, I think the team has bigger needs, but at some point you can't pass on a value. I mean, Bijan Robinson is one of the top 5 players in this draft. And positional value is going to bump him down. But at some point, there's a basement to that, right? You can't keep on telling. I mean, what are you going to do? Not use a first-round pick on the best running back prospect possibly since Saquon Barkley, if not better? You know, at what point do you start saying this is becoming foolish to pass on a player, especially, like you said, when I was writing my team needs for the guide, you know, I wanted to put running back at a higher need because of if they do trade Eckler, they got nothing behind him right now. Like, that's the way I'm going into this draft process is there is nothing behind Austin Eckler. Yes, I know they have names. They have some guys that have produced, but, you know, Joshua Kelly, he's in the contract year. Larry Roundtree and Spiller combined for 2 yards per carry on 31 carries last year. You can't tell me that there's something on that offense that scares anybody behind Eckler. So, even if they keep Eckler around, I don't think it's off the table.
Well, yeah, so apparently, and I was just doing a little digging while you were talking, that's really what it's about, is that, you know, Eckler wants to be there. He just wants a more respectable offer.
Yeah.
But again, I don't care. If they give him whatever he asks for, it just makes more sense if they have another guy in that backfield. It just does. And I'm not talking about Joshua Kelly. So, all right. Now, wide receiver, they've got a really good 3, but the problem is we saw it last year, injuries. And now they don't even have like a DeAndre Carter. Palmer's there still, but so they have to do something. Now, I don't know. I don't think you have to do it early enough because there's other needs, but they definitely have to do something there. And also, the biggest hole to me is right tackle. I don't think there's any question they need an upgrade at right tackle. I think they could live with Salyer. I think he actually played pretty well, all things considered, as a 6th-round draft pick when he had to fill in. I don't know. I think he's better at guard, but you tell me. So, yeah, I think right tackle is a big hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with the offensive line. It's tough to really project what their biggest need is on that team because I don't know what they're going to do with Salyer, if they're going to put him at guard or at right tackle. I will say they brought back Trey Pipkins, and he's coming off a year where he did play the best football of his career. So if you believe that he's on the ascent, I think you can make do with him. If you just think that was kind of like a flash in the pan, had a few easy matchups, opposing defenses were attacking the left side of the line because you had Salyer out there. At the very least, you let those two battle it out, Salyer and Pipkins. But if you do that, I think there's a bigger hole at guard across at the left guard spot.
So you think Salyer should be a tackle?
He could be, I would say. You know, so this is where the discussion is. I think that is the question that needs to be answered first before you say, hey, let's go in and get a tackle this year or let's go in and get a guard. I mean, his greatest value might be the 6th offensive lineman. But the question is, because he can credibly play both spots, and that is a valuable piece that a lot of teams wish they had. But the question now becomes he might be one of your top 5 linemen, and you don't want to start the season with one of your top 5 linemen on the bench. And so it's a very interesting situation.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is the guy that probably would fit really nicely there, they won't be able to get their hands on him, also comes from the same school that they drafted Slater at. So, but again,
no shot.
He won't be available. Looking at the defense, they're running the 3-4. Mack, he led the team in sacks because Bosa was hurt. But Mack is not the same player he was a few years ago, and they don't have anybody behind them. So I think at some point they have to add an edge rusher. I don't know. Look, I also think that they could go a long way instead of just these patchwork guys. I think the Chargers can go a long way if they added like a true top 3-4 lineman, somebody that could fit. Because the guys that they have are just okay. They're just bodies, but they don't have anybody up there that scares anybody. And I think that if they find that guy, I think that's something to look at as well. And in the secondary, Nickelback looks to me like to be a major hole, and they could probably upgrade at free safety unless they are high that JT Woods can make the step, and that's why they drafted him last year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. My top need on the defensive side of the ball is the defensive lineman. They had the worst run defense in football last year, and they have not made an improvement. Now, you're getting a couple guys back that were injured last year, including who they think is a premier run defender in Tito Ogbonnia from UCLA. Okay. I think he only played a few games before he had a quad injury. So
we can say that nose tackle may be okay. We'll pass on upgrading at nose tackle this offseason.
Yep. And, Morgan Fox is a guy they brought back. He had 6.5 sacks last year. Sebastian Joseph Day, he had a career-high 9 tackles for loss. But like you said, there's no one that scares. Austin Johnson is just another guy. There's no one that scares the opposition. And I agree that, you can't rely on Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa to be the premier players. Bosa can't stay on the field, and Khalil Mack is now on the back nine of his career. So you're going to need to offset that somehow. And I agree, a pass rushing 3-4 defensive lineman.
Who could that be?
Would go along. I actually like in this role, not everyone agrees with me on this, is Brian Bresee from Clemson.
Okay.
I think that's a role he could play really well in because you can move him around gap to gap a little bit. Byron Young from Alabama is a guy that I think could fit in that role pretty well. I don't know if he can two-gap, but that's not as important in this scheme as it has been. They do have a new defensive play caller this year, so things might shift out a little bit. And, hey, if you believe in the kid from Michigan, D-tackle Smith, Mazai Smith, I mean, if you think that he was not a pass rusher in college, I think he had that half a career sack, but the tools are there to be a premier pass rusher. And that's the kind of athlete and the kind of body that, 335 with the way that he moves.
Where does he get drafted?
Where is he going to get drafted?
What round, yeah?
Second round is where I have him getting drafted.
Okay.
Yep.
It seems like a risky pick, though, doesn't it, for the second round? I agree with you that that's probably where he goes, but don't you think that's like a hit or miss kind of pick?
Yeah, it's a swing for the fence. Just because you're gambling on tools and you're gambling on flashes that you see on tape, not consistency.
All right, and what do you think about the secondary? Do you think JT Woods is ready to step up? The J.C. Jackson injury, we'll see how he comes back from that. Taylor was a 6th-round pick last year. What do you think is the major need in the secondary?
Man, I think an outside corner. I just don't trust Michael Davis. I've been writing up the Chargers for years, and every year it seems like the Michael Davis part of the write-up is the complete opposite of what we've seen in
So you think he's overrated?
He's not reliable. He's not consistent. I would love to have him on my depth chart. I don't want him starting. Okay. I don't want to go into the year as my starter. So if there's a need there,
who plays nickel?
I think that's it. Nickel, I like Jasir Taylor.
Okay.
And I even think Asante Samuel Jr. could end up there down the road. I think you got to keep him on the outside right now because of what you don't have on this team. What are you getting out of J.C. Jackson, too? You just don't know right now how he's going to bounce back. So in that division, you can't have enough corners, in my opinion. So that's definitely one of the top needs on this team.
Okay, makes a lot of sense.